Okay, manual transmission fluid, and differential oil, or gear oil. I'm going to change those. So trans is 75W80. I got this from ECS Tuning. I think this is the same sort of gear oil that BMW uses. So this Febby or Bilstein, I don't know what, Febby Bilstein, I think this is what they use, but we're going to use this in the manual trans, and then we've got 75W or 75W140 for the rear differential. So we're going to dump both of these. You could get smart and cute and use something else, use like Mobil 1 or something like that, but I'm not an expert in these two things, so I'm just going to stick with OE BMW like I did with the oil. I've got new drain bolts for both the manual trans and so I think these, yeah, I think these are for the transmission, these for the differential. And I've also got, which you probably won't need, but I've got a new filter, the new strainer filter for the manual transmission. So I have all of these. I'm just going to replace them all because I can. It's not super expensive. I think this is a few 35 or 40 bucks, something like that. And then I went to Advance Auto. I got every freaking pump they got. So one of these pumps will hopefully work. And then once I get done with this, just like when I changed the oil, somebody suggested this amazing filter. Let me show you that. This sucker, this is an AST OF AUD 1000. This amazing funnel, like screws right in where the oil goes in on the BMW. So I'm sure someone will make a suggestion to me, a decent pump that we can use after the fact. So let's get rolling the manual transmission fluid first. I have a twin bush. This is a oil extractor / oil drain thinger. So we're going to use this to capture the manual transmission fluid. Let's get this in position. I'm a little blocked off here, but you always want to take, at least I've always been taught, where the heck is it? You always want to take the fill bolt out first, because if you strip something out, you can put more oil back in. Here it is. So the fill bolt comes out first. And these are crush washered, so they'll always snap. Now, it's probably also smarter to do this when it's warm, but the car's been in the garage for a while. I think we'll be okay. So there's our fill. And then let's do our drain. Let's see if I can actually do this without making a huge mess. Come on. How many more turns do I got? There we go. So we'll let this drain out, and then we need to take the strainer off the side here. So we'll take this, the filter strainer bolt. We'll let this drain, and then I'll remove that. These get 35 Newton meters, or like 25 foot-pounds. The strainer, the filter side, gets 25 Newton meters, or like 15, 16 foot-pounds of torque. And I left my fancy Snap-on digitals at home. I need to bring those here. All right, so this is a 22 millimeter, I think. Yeah, 22 millimeter. And again, this shouldn't have as much torque on it. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, so this looks super clean. There's probably no reason to even change it, but I've got a new one, so let's just do it. So if this is all gunked up, you definitely need to replace it. I think I may have misspoken. I think this is like $70, so it's a pretty expensive bolt. I'll hold on to this one just in case. Well, I just got all excited because check this out. These bottles are genius. So you take this thing, twist and pull, and look at that. I don't need any of these pumps. And this actually fits up in there, at least I think it does. And so now we've got our trans fluid ready to go. So we shouldn't need any of those goofy things. Knock on metal. Okay, so let's put our strainer bolt back in, and then I've got a new replacement bolt here as well. Let's put our strainer filter back in place. I've let this drip for 5 or 10 minutes, something like that. And then I've got a new, these are aluminum with a little green whatever washer on there. They don't need any additional washer from what I can tell. Wipe that off. So put the drain bolt and the strainer bolt back in place prior to us refilling. Now, what we're supposed to do, which I don't think I'm going to, we're supposed to then bring the car down, start it up, and then check it again. So how the heck do I use this thing? All right, I learn something new every day. You pull this little finger out, and then I twist this. So I've got it set to 15 Newton meters. At least I think I do. So now it should click. This is why I like to use my calibrated wrist. There we go. There's 15 Newton meters. Let's just double check, which you're not supposed to do, but I'm gonna do anyway. Yeah. It's like 26 pound-feet. Boom. So I got set 35 Newton meters. Bingo. So there we go. Learned how to use torque wrenches for the first time in my life. The problem is, I'm not gonna be able to squeeze this all the way out. So that's where we're still gonna need a pump, I think. Or what I can do is just keep filling up excess of the bottle. So I was able to squeeze about half of it out pretty quickly there. So we just keep squeezing it in there till it starts to pour out. Yeah. So then I'll just take and fill these up with the excess. At least that's theoretically what I'm going to do. The other way to do this would be to just use a pump. Rather than get one of those pumps all gunked up. Now watch, it'll probably leak all over the place. There we go. So that's how you know. So we fill it up till it reaches the point where it's dripping out. And then whenever it stops dripping, we put the bolt back in and we got the proper fill. Okay, so the concept here is to get it so that it's done dripping. So now we've got the proper fill. I'm going to put my bolt back in. This needs to be torqued to 35 Newton meters, just like the bolt on the bottom. These bolts are nice. I mean, it's all aluminum. The transmission fluid was actually really nice and clean looking. The manual trans appears to be in good shape. My new fancy torque wrench, see if I can get it up in there. Ha! That's cool. Done. So let's go on, and I guess what I'm going to do right now, let me put the transmission cover back on, and then we'll go on to do the diff. It's hitting the O2 sensor. Both sides are. Something is not right. Did I just not put this thing back on before? Something's not right about this whole thing. Did I put the exhaust on backwards? Upside down? I think what I gotta do is trim this out a little bit. All right, I'm gonna have to get creative here. Let me cut this out a little bit because it's hitting my O2 sensors the way it's set up. I don't remember having to do this, so hope I don't have something jacked up here. This would be better if I had my cutoff tool here. This is not functional excellence here. This is just functional. I'm sure I'll get plenty of flack for this one. This is something that would be much cleaner with a cutoff tool, but I just don't have it here. Okay, we just won't get a close-up of that jankiness. I think it'll be just fine. I was putting it on straight. I don't think I was putting it on backwards, was I? That would be funny. Okay, differential. Always take the top bolt out first. So what I want to do is get this draining so that I'll put the front plate back on and remove this over so it doesn't shoot all over the place. So these are much fatter. What is this? This is a 14 mil. Let me get a paper towel. The other thing I should mention on these is I want to make sure these are relatively level when doing this. Especially not so much for the draining, but for the filling. So if you're doing this on ramps, you want to make sure that you fill it with the car up on equal ramps. Always makes me nervous with the thing 6 feet up in the air. These are much shorter than the transmission bolts, so just prepare yourself for that. There's the diff. So we'll let that sit there and drain. I'm going to go put the front plate back on while that's draining. So this we're just going to go with my calibrated shoulder. So that's whatever it's supposed to be, it is. So now we're going to make a giant mess with this little pumpy thing that I got going on here. So here's this wonky business because none of them fit. None of them work. And I got this one dirty, so this is how we're going to do it. Oh, this is actually working okay, even though it doesn't fit on the bottle. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. So we got to put roughly 3 of these in here. This is certainly easier than me laying on the ground. But man, I'm telling you, the cost of BMW maintenance is, I don't even want to know. I mean, just to change the oil in these 3 different fluids is around $1,000. Yeah, precision. This is precision engineering I'm doing here. Uh-oh. I don't think this takes all 3, but it takes like 2.5 or 2 1/4 or something. We're about to find out. I can't wait for somebody to turn me on to like the perfect pump for this. But the chances of me having this car like 15,000 miles when I need to do this again is pretty slim. Somebody's going to get a well-vetted, paint-corrected machine with all kinds of expensive parts on it when I'm done with it. I'll let you all read into that as much as you want. I've been too focused here in this series. I need to get some asides going on here. I've been too on point. I normally have 30-minute diatribes about my life's existence in my install videos. I think we'll save that for the next one. We'll keep this one short. For those of you who want to change the diff fluid on your own. Should start spilling out of here soon. So once it reaches the proper level, just like the manual transmission, it'll start to spill out of the fill bolt. And that's how you know you got the proper level. So that's why it's imperative the car is flat. Because if you had it turned, if you had it up or down, pitched, then you wouldn't have the proper level. So what you want is you want the fluid to rise to level, and then the excess will spill out of it. Well, we're already, there we go. Let's make sure it keeps draining. Yep. There we go, reach our level, and we'll let it drain so that it's flush, and then I'll put the bolt back in. Okay, so now we got a slow drip, so I'm just gonna button it up here. We'll say we have a little extra in there for the extra hard driving I'm gonna do. Just joking, doesn't really work that way. Okay, this should be another, I think 35 Newton meters. So we'll just go with my wrist calibration here. And we're golden. Yep. Nice. Diff fluid, transmission fluid, oil, exhaust. All the plates are reinstalled. I lighten it up by removing a couple of pieces. So take just a little, little brake cleaner. Let's wipe that off. Okay, so manual trans, differential fluid change, really pretty basic. Pull the cover down. So we pull the plate or the transmission cover off, and for the differential we don't need to pull anything off. And you always remove the fill bolt first. So remove that first, then drain bolts on both the trans and the differential. I would reuse bolts, so I'll throw the old ones away. So I got new bolts. And if you go to ECS Tuning, I'll put in the description here the links for the stuff that you need for the proper transmission fluid and the proper differential gear oil. So after you removed it, drained it, let it drain, then we remove the filter from the trans. We don't have a filter on the differential, so we reinstall the filter, reinstall the drain bolts, then use a pump of some sort, pump the fluid back into each, both the trans and the diff, and then when it reaches the level, it'll level off, pour out, let it pour out to level, make sure the car is relatively level, and then put your drain bolt back in. They all require roughly 35 Newton meters, 25 foot-pounds of torque. Again, if you don't have a torque wrench, just don't over tighten. These are aluminum. At least they're aluminum in the rear, so you don't want to cross thread or over tighten, because you don't want to have to replace your transmission because you stripped out the drain bolt. So anyway, good little exercise. Now the car should be good for 15 or 20,000 miles before I need to change it again. Thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.
Dialed in.